What do the panel think about the effects of that, the lack of liquidity? Is that going to restrict UK businesses trading internationally?
There's a yes and a no on that. I mean, there is obviously the lack of liquidity in the UK at the moment, and therefore the banks are tight in terms of the lending. They all say they're open for business. I think they certainly are, specifically in terms of their existing customers and clients on that basis. I think it goes back whether it's a recession or not, or just normal times. Have you got a good business model? Have you got some good opportunities? Does the bank understand what's their return, what's the risk on it? And I think whether it's a credit crunch or recession or normal times, that's the key thing. Have a viable business model and talk to your bank early doors on it and explain the sensitivities and the risks attached to it all.
Marie?
I think in terms of trade finance, I mean, looking at that in particular, the movement of goods is something that banks do like to get involved in. Obviously, the commodities markets go up and down like everything else, but I think looking at the whole spectrum of things that you can invest in, commodities and sale and purchase, is a good bet for the banks, and I think they're certainly making the right noises, and I know we've got some of the banks here. They certainly are looking to lend more perhaps into commodity sale and purchase and the transport of goods, because they do have security in those goods, and it's a much better bet for them, I think, than perhaps putting money on a house that may go down in value by half. I mean, who knows? So they certainly are encouraging it, and I suppose it depends on the particular commodity, the market, as to whether they want to really get more involved with a particular customer.
Thank you. Andrew, what sort of signs are you seeing?
I've been speaking to a number of bank managers, and I presume there's some in the room, but correct me if I'm wrong. What they're seeing from a lot of UK companies are paying down debt. They're keen to loan to UK companies, and they see trade as a good investment, as Marie has said. And I think, if you can put a good business case forward to your bank manager, I think money will be forthcoming. I think at this point in time that the money supply has freed up to a greater extent than maybe 6 months ago.
Just to add on that, I was speaking to one bank last week, and they're saying 50% of their new business of startups, literally startups, not new business, want to trade overseas, and that's why they've chosen that global bank. So it is very key, and they're willing to invest in those companies who are looking to trade overseas.
Andrew, I imagine UKTI probably produce a kit that you can take, a survival kit for trading abroad. And
yeah, I have to say there's a lot of information that's available free to UK companies. If you go onto the UKTI website and go into the country pages, you can find all types of information in terms of how to set up a business, things like product liability law. There is brochures that you can download that are freely available, that are there for UK companies to access. In terms of cultural issues, I think trade missions are a good way to get out to a market and get exposure and understanding of a market and its culture. And UKTI does a number of trade missions, and if you speak to your local team, you'll be able to find out if there's a mission going from Yorkshire and Humber. But you can also tap into trade missions that are going out from other regions as well.
Which sector would you say at the moment is doing the most international trade?
Was China 10 years ago? A lot of the businesses are now looking at Indonesia, Vietnam, India.
I think transport is a very big one, actually. So if we look at the amount of goods that are carried by sea, and that's looking at the moment, it's about 90% carried by sea. That's set to increase by a further 75% over the next 10 years. So there's going to be an awful lot of shipbuilding, a lot of crewing. We're already suffering quite a big deficit in specialist crews. For example, LNG, liquefied natural gas carriers, there aren't enough good crews for those specific ships. And the more we go into the green energy, the natural gas and other alternative forms of transport and energy, I think that would be a very good bet, personally.
Thanks. Andrew, where are you seeing the growth?
Across all areas, I have to say, there's a lot of growth in terms of UK manufacturing companies seeking to engage in a lot of the infrastructure and mass transit opportunities, but also companies are looking at the opportunities represented by the green agenda in a number of markets globally. So companies that operate in the power sector or alternative renewable energies, or can provide technologies around smart grid or smart metering, or things such as carbon capture and storage. So I think companies that are innovative are spotting opportunities due to the economic downturn and going out quite aggressively and targeting them and being successful on the back of that.